Hey guys, it's Ryan. So, what I want to talk to you about today is a question I get asked all the time by local contractors and construction companies is how do you market a local residential or commercial construction business and how do you do it effectively? Basically, how are you generating leads? And so there's a lot of ways we can take that content today. There's a lot of things we can talk about. I'm going to go through some of the most easy and basic things that you should be doing, whether you're just starting out and brand new or whether you're large and you got to make sure you do the fundamentals right to capture every possible lead and job you can get in that marketplace. Okay. So let's kind of jump in a little bit. All right. There's two main categories. Obviously, this is basic stuff. There's the online element and then there's the offline element for marketing the business. Okay. So the offline element is actually fantastic. Okay. What's nice about this is you build the relationships, the networking, the getting to know people, all those important elements in terms of how do we build a presence that gets you that word of mouth. Okay. Obviously, you know the basics. There's yard signs, there's typical flyers, mailers, door knocking, all that stuff is a good idea. And don't forget about how to network with important people in the area. So, for example, realtors are a good one. You find flippers, that's a pretty good one. You get to know different business owners in different industries, right? That may or may not be a good fit for you. Try and find people you can connect with and network with that can really help the business grow, especially in times when you might need an extra job here or there. Also consider things like BNI groups, right? Online things like that. You can go to meetup.com and find other potential places where you can connect with local businesses, connect with people and get to know them. The offline stuff still works. Mailers still work, but you got to be strategic about it, okay? And you've got to actually have a plan in place to go through that offline element. Here's the most important part. When you do the offline stuff, especially nowadays, the very first thing that customer is going to do is then move online and check you out, right? So that kind of brings us to our second element here, which is all right, what do you want to do on the online element? How do you actually want to get the digital side of it going where the majority of people are these days? Okay, so what do we need to do for that? There's a lot of avenues you can go down here. Depending on the size of your company and the size of your construction business, you got to kind of pick and choose what you want. Okay. Because listen, there's so many avenues. You need to focus on one and get it dialed in very well before you go adding the next one. So the question you got to ask yourself is what do you need right now? If you're small and you need a lot of leads coming in because things are getting off the ground and you got to get a business going and you got to have jobs and revenue, you need to focus on lead generation immediately, right? And that means you're going to want to focus more on advertising to get your business name out there and less on brand building. Does that make sense? So, things that you want to do for advertising. A lot of people lean on social media for advertising because it's kind of cheap and kind of quick. It can work, but you have to do it well, right? This is where a lot of people gets hung up is they think, oh, I can toss a couple bucks at a Facebook ad and I'll have leads coming in. Yes, but not all those leads are good leads. If anybody of you've run Facebook ads before for your construction business, you'll know there's a lot of junk in there. There is some good in there, but there's a lot of junk. And you got to work through it to figure out how do you get rid of the junk and sift through to find the actual gold that's living within those leads. Okay? You can try Google Ads. Now, Google Ads is a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit tougher. It takes a little bit more of a learning curve, but the people tend to be higher quality leads. You get more expensive leads, but they're usually better. They're people that are actively looking for the things that you want as a construction company, remodeling, whatever, right? They're looking for it. They're thinking about it. That's how Google works. So if you need leads, it's one of those two things that tend to be a good one. Here's a secret that's a really good one depending on your niche and your area. Nextdoor.com, Nextdoor, that app, that neighborhood thing, is an excellent source of really pretty high quality leads. It doesn't do really great for advertising, but if you can get some friends and family on Nextdoor also talking about your business, those tend to be really great leads. You can't promote yourself a whole bunch because it's a lot of social networking and right. So you can't just say, hey, this is Bob's Remodeling and I'm Bob and here, I'm going to tell you why I'm great. That's not going to work. But if your friend Susie says, hey, I used Bob's Remodeling and Bob's Remodeling was great, you should check them out, the person who posted looking for remodeling is really going to take that with some serious, because it clearly says on Susie's profile she lives in the neighborhood, right? She lives in the area. And so now it becomes almost like a referral. It's the next best thing. It's a neighborhood referral. And so that's a really high quality source. It just takes a little bit of effort. You got to do the manual work on Nextdoor. The advertising, from my experience, doesn't work as well. It's not as good. So that's a good one. Hop on Nextdoor if you've never tried it out. It's going to be pretty helpful and pretty successful for you. Now, moving into the other avenues for lead generation, if you think social media might be one, social media is best if you have a very visual business, right? Kitchens, baths, flooring, right? Though maybe even concrete, if you got really beautiful concrete products at the end. Things that have a very high visual appeal tend to do pretty well on social media, because people are there on social just browsing around. They're not actively looking for what you have, but they're thinking about it, right? And so because they think it, they see it, they're like, oh, wow. Especially if you do like a bathroom where it's like a before and after transformation and the pictures are fantastic, that's a great thing to use for lead generation on something like a social media. If you're a drywall guy, right? Like I've got drywall clients as well. Social media is not going to work a whole lot for you. Nobody really cares about drywall, right? Even roofing. Roofing has very mixed results on social media. Sometimes you can do well, sometimes it's tough. People aren't thinking about roofs when they're on social media, and everyone knows that when I need a roof, I get a roof. So you got to use social media a little bit carefully in how you go about lead generation specifically. Cheap leads don't always equal good leads, right? Social media is full of cheap leads. That doesn't always mean it's a source of good leads. There's good in there, but you got to find it. Okay. All right. Another good area to think about is obviously Google, right? Google, what most contractors and construction guys get wrong is they don't understand that Google is actually 4 main sources of leads. There's 4 things within Google you can get leads from. Okay. Everyone knows the website. That's the basic one. You got to have a website. Listen, if you don't have a website, you're kind of in a real storm of trouble here, because people are going to look you up, right? You got to get something up there as a basic site to actually get legitimacy nowadays. Yes, you want to have your social media profiles. Yes, you want to have some photos up there, but most people now consider the website as sort of the basic business card. You got to have one. Okay, so get a website if you don't have one yet. So, okay, that's area 1, and ranking in Google, they call it SEO, right? So you get leads from SEO and ranking in Google and all that, but that takes time. That is what I call farming process. That is not an immediate return. So you are farming that, right? You're cultivating the ground, you're planting the seeds, you're watering, you take care of it, and eventually that thing will bring you a harvest. Those leads that come from Google SEO are always exceptionally high quality. They're great leads, awesome quality. People love it. That's good, but it takes time to build that. Okay. The second avenue within Google is actually the Google business profile, that little map section, right? When someone types in a contractor near me and the little map pops up with 3 businesses in it, that's called the Google business profile. That's free. So set that up within Google. It takes a little bit of verification and validation within Google, but then once that's in there, you now have a chance to show up in that map section whenever someone's typing for your business or anything like your business within the near vicinity, right? A couple miles typically. So if you're in a pretty populated area, that can be a real asset to you to generate leads, and relatively quickly, right? It tends to be very proximity focused. So if you're in a highly densely populated area and people are within 2-3 miles, they're looking for your service, there's a high chance you're going to show up, which is great. Okay. There's a whole lot that goes into optimization of that specific type of profile, but it's a basic thing to get going, and it's free from Google. Okay. The third thing within Google is obviously Google Ads. Okay. I've already talked about this a little bit. Google Ads are great if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, they can be an absolute money pit. And I mean, drain you dry faster than you can frickin' blink. Google Ads, Listen, Google is out for Google, and Google is not necessarily out for you. And Google will take all of your money, whether or not you get leads from it. You have to have a very good strategy within Google Ads, and then it will produce fantastic results for you month over month, month over month, month over month, right? But if you've never done this before, I'd recommend you talk to a professional about how to actually set up and run Google Ads, how to track Google Ads, and how to measure your ROI. Because ultimately, it comes down to an ROI for Google Ads. If you can get an ROI out of it, which a lot of times when done properly, you can plow money into Google Ads all the time and reap the benefits. Okay? That's Google Ads. Number 4 is Google's newest thing for contractors specifically is the Google Guaranteed, also called Google Local Service Ads. Now, this is that top section within Google nowadays where it's like, hey, these are guaranteed contractors, right? It's even above the Google Organic. It's above the Google Paid Ads. Like, it's the very top thing, okay? And this takes a little bit extra work. Yes, it is a pay to play situation, but you only pay per lead, which is nice. You go through a much more strict validation process with Google Guaranteed, though, including like your business license, your insurance, depending on which kind of construction company you are. You may have additional licenses Google requires to actually upload to see, because the whole point with Google Guaranteed is Google is telling the search person, the searcher, hey, listen, we as Google have validated this is a legitimate business, and we know they perform decent to good to great quality. You should look at them. So because of that, much more strict on the validation process. May take you a week to 2 to actually get verified. They even run a background check on you, right? It's a process, but you pay to be at the very, very top of Google, which is obviously a fantastic place to be. So those are the 4 areas that people don't even realize that you can be getting leads from Google. 2 are free. Well, you have a website, right? It's kind of get that up and going. Google Maps section, that's free. Google Paid Ads is paid. And then Google, obviously, LSA, local service ads, you pay for those 2. So 2 you can do on your own, 2 you got to pay for. But those are 4 great areas to get leads from, especially for your construction business, right? So what else? Let's think. Those are kind of the big ones. Social media we've talked about. Those are, if you aren't doing any kind of consistent follow-up with your customers or your clients or your prospects, you're losing money, right? Put some basic email campaign together where you at least touch base with them once a month, bare minimum once a month, right? Just with maybe some project highlights. Hey, FYI, we just did this amazing transformation of this particular bathroom. Here's some before and after photos. Click the link to see more, just to continue to remind people that you exist and that you do remodeling or you do construction or you do whatever it is. Get people on your email list and then touch base with them at least once a month. You'll be surprised how much people come back around. Maybe not right away, maybe in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, or like, you know what, I've been getting your emails actually for the last 2 years. I've seen the work you guys do. It's fantastic. I wasn't ready then, but I'm ready now. And I'm calling you guys. And guess what? A lot of times those people aren't looking anywhere else. You're the only one they've called because you've consistently touched base with them over and over and over again, right? In the marketing world, we call that the fortune is in the follow-up, right? You've probably heard something similar in the construction industry. Listen, follow up, follow up, follow up until they say no. Until they tell you stop contacting them, you follow up with them over and over and over again. All right? So kind of covered a lot of things. Those are the basics that you need to get on point. The other things you got to think about is, are you tracking your metrics? So many construction companies I talk to and work with don't track their metrics. They don't track their numbers. How many leads are coming in from each individual source? How many of those leads are turning into jobs? What's the dollar amount? What's the ROI? How much are you getting from each source? Most of the times when I come in and audit a business and work with a construction company, they are bleeding money out of almost every one of their channels for generating leads except one. One is usually killing it. The other ones are all getting absolutely destroyed. And I say, listen, we either cut off the ones that aren't working and double down on what is, or we fix the ones that aren't working and try and squeeze a little more extra out of it. Most of the times we cut the ones that aren't working and like double and triple down on what is working, and we explode their business in just a matter of a few weeks because that's what actually has been driving their results the whole time. They just didn't even know it. And so, or we fix a couple of the channels that are doing literally nothing and at least try and get them back to zero or back to net positive, right? Some kind of net positive, and the business blows up either way, right? Track your numbers. Understand where your leads are coming from. If you don't have a CRM, get one. Implement it, install it, get your numbers figured out, right? I can't tell you how valuable that information is to know where are you getting money from? That's ultimately the big question. Where are you getting your money from? Once you have that figured out, you realize what's working, what's not, and we put better strategies in place. Okay? Listen, if any of this makes sense or you want to talk more, I do help construction companies with their marketing. There's a link in the description if you want to learn more, and I can see you there. Otherwise, have a great day. See ya.